we broke all the rules that ARC preaches and still survived, and that's just a miracle. I would never coach anybody to do that. I financed the whole church on 5 Visa Gold cards. So each of them had a $20,000 limit, and no one would give us a loan. There was no ARC, there was no matching funds. The church that I was a part of gave me $200 a month for 2 years. They said to help us get started. Hey, have a great day, thanks for working here. And yeah, so it was not a father-son relationship, as you can see. And so we actually put all the church on our credit cards. And if you can imagine that, I mean, every time I'd get a new credit card in the mail, I would transfer balances to that one, and I was constantly juggling 5 credit cards with $20,000 limit. And just to let you know, that lasted until about year 7 that we were juggling credit cards, which is horrible. And every time they go on TV and say, the average American has $15,000 in credit card debt, I'd say, I bring that up. You know, I'm an overachiever. And so it was not good. And but so we started with 13 people, then launched our church. We were actually Portable Church Industry. They're here with the booth. We're their very first customer. So I went up to them, I said, hey, how's your first customer? And they said, is your name Rob? And I said, yes, it is. And they're like, yes, you were, you know, you really were. So, and we bought, you know, $70,000 worth of equipment, and that's where most of the credit card thing went, to get the equipment to start church. And we started with, once we finally opened our doors, we got up in our Bible study to 40, and then we actually launched as a church and had about 200, shrunk down to in the 60s. And then we had to break the 100 barrier, 200, all those. So just let you know the journey, and it was all on our credit card. I held my paycheck 12 times. We had just enough in our reserve fund as a couple that if the church didn't get enough in the offering, we would take the money out of reserve fund, pay ourselves, be broke, you know, from the reserve fund, and pray twice as hard for a good offering next week. So that's real life. 12 times we had to do that. And my wife worked full-time as an accountant and got all of our health insurance through her company, and it was a battle and a journey. And again, every growth barrier, I remember 100, 200, 400, 1,000, you know, 3,000, now 6,000, and every barrier that has been there, and now we're looking at 10. And so I can identify with you, I've lived it, and but I wouldn't trade it for the world. It's been the most amazing journey. And I would never coach anyone to do the credit card thing. I would say do it the ARC way, get the matching funds, do that, get a coach, get a mentor, do the right decision. And we're one of the rare exceptions that worked putting it all on credit card debt. And my backup plan if the church failed was I was gonna go work for Dino Rizzo and pay back the money, because his church co-signed the loan for us to get started. So I would lose everything, and then they would have had to pay off all my bills, and then I would have been an indentured servant to Dino until I paid it off. So that was my strategy. So, but maybe God honored my all-in, and I think that's one principle. If there's one principle you can gather from that, God honors all-in.
Yeah.
And the other day I felt this, when we go to God in prayer, never show up with a plan B, but be open to an alternative ending. Okay? Do not go to God in prayer, in faith, with a plan A, plan B, plan C, fallback, plan D. Have your plan A defined, what you are believing God for in prayer. Do not be double-minded in any way. Ask Him for what you want, but be open for Him to redirect for what He wants if they don't align. But don't show up with options. God, I don't think God likes options. I think God knows His plan, and He wants to see how far your plan is away from His plan, and then He will get them to line up, and then He'll pour out His blessing on that. So just show up with your plan A and listen for the alternative ending.